Iowa is preparing to spend millions of dollars to kick families off of food stamps. Yeah, you heard that right. My name is Brittany Page. This is the Page Perspective. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe. We are so close to 20,000 subscribers, which is very exciting. You can follow me on other social media if you do that: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at Brittany E. Page. Also, you can follow the podcast on social media on Twitter and Instagram. Over on the podcast, I Doubt It podcast Instagram, I posted a reel of my Ben Shapiro free school lunch video. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. And the reel, it really took off with the Ben Shapiro supporters. They had a lot to say, a lot of fun comments. If you are interested in that, you should go check it out. So Iowa ended 2022 with a budget surplus of $1.9 billion. And despite that, reporting from the Washington Post shows that it is currently a Republican priority to cut SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is known as food stamps. And it is a priority for them, of course, in the face of that $1.91 billion budget surplus. It's these entitlement programs. House Speaker Pat Grassley, Republican, Nepo baby, grandson of Senator Charles E. Grassley, told reporters in January, they're the ones that are growing within the budget and are putting pressure on us being able to fund other priorities. And so I think it's time for us to take a serious look at what they are. And this is always the go-to complaint that we hear. I mean, we don't hear Republicans talking about the budget defense spending, the $858 billion budget for defense spending, even though, by the way, they can't pass an audit. There was a law that was passed through Congress in 1990 that said that all federal agencies had to provide regular audited financial statements, and they didn't start doing their audits until 2017, and since then have failed 5 audits. So there's no official accounting of how exactly the Department of Defense is spending $858 billion. But you don't hear Pat Grassley talking about that. Chuck Grassley, you don't hear any of these Republicans talking about that. It's only things that benefit poor people. And there were a few versions of this bill before it is now in the form that it currently is as it heads to the governor's desk. Reading from the Washington Post reporting, but the version of the proposal that the legislature would later vote on kept the assets test, tasked the state with contracting with a third-party vendor to conduct rigorous identity verification and authentication on recipients, raised the monthly income threshold of SNAP participants to 160% of the federal poverty level for households, and gave recipients only 10 days to respond to paperwork mistakes or discrepancies before they are cut from the program. Enacting the bill is expected to cost Iowa more than $17 million in the first 3 years, far more than the $2.2 million the state spends each year to administer SNAP. I'm having a really hard time getting over a party that is willing to spend 3 times what it costs to kick people off of food stamps than what it costs to just give people food stamps. I mean, this is the party of fiscal responsibility, right? And they're going to spend $17 million in the first 3 years to monitor compliance and police the food stamp rolls when it only costs $2.2 million per year to actually provide food stamps. And this is also, of course, the party of small government, and they're going to use this $17 million to create bigger government that is going to monitor for compliance with the food stamp program when the rates of fraud are minimal and almost non-existent. And let's not forget that asset test, because that is means testing. They are putting into place, they're making it more difficult for poor people to access the benefits that they need. An asset test, meaning families and individuals are barred from accessing SNAP, Medicaid, and other assistance programs if the value of their cars, farm equipment, or other items are too high. And I want to get into what this specifically means. Any Iowa households with liquid assets of more than $15,000 would not be allowed to receive SNAP benefits. The limit would not count the value of a home, the household's first car, and up to $10,000 of the value of a second household car. So make sure you don't have too much money saved. Oh, you're trying to save money for a car? You're trying to save money for a house? No, not if you want to eat. You are a two-car household? Wow, what a luxury. You're too rich for food stamps in the state of Iowa. Again, this is about punishing poor people. How do we expect people to work their way up, gain their footing, if we force them to be basically destitute before they have any chance at an opportunity of receiving assistance? And this is not motivating, it's crushing. And you have a $1.9 billion budget surplus. So this seems very unnecessary when it only costs $2.2 million to administer food stamps per year in the state of Iowa. So I want to look at this report from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities because the benefits of SNAP really speak for themselves. And here you will see that more than 66% of SNAP recipients are in families with children. More than 50% are in working families, and they compare the rates nationally there. I want to go to the second page on this document, which of course will be linked in the description below. An average SNAP benefit in nominal dollars, fiscal year 2023. Each household member per month receives $170. Each member of the household receives $5.58 per day. So quite frankly, even when you do get food stamps, it's not enough, it's not ideal, but it certainly helps. And even though those numbers are not high, there are substantial benefits associated with receiving food stamps. According to a recent report summarizing the impact of SNAP from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, SNAP can help families afford a healthier diet, reduce the stress of not being able to afford adequate food, and free up income to spend on medications and other basic needs. Pinpointing SNAP's impact on health is challenging, in part because people who choose to participate in the program are generally more disadvantaged than those who are eligible but don't participate. But rigorous research that controls for these differences has linked SNAP with improved health, both when participants are receiving benefits and later in life. The benefits associated with receiving food stamps are extensive, they're lifelong. I know this personally, being someone who grew up on food stamps, and I wouldn't be where I am today without having been able to access this program. In a state like Iowa, where you have a $1.9 billion budget surplus, and it only costs $2.2 million per year to fund the food stamp program, this should not be a priority. Cutting benefits for vulnerable people should not be a priority. It's only going to hurt people. It's only going to hurt children. It is only negative. I'm sure many of you watching this have been personally impacted by food stamps, and I would love to hear your stories. Maybe you live in Iowa. Maybe you are personally going to be impacted by this program. You have concerns about it. I would love to hear your story. Feel free to give me a call, 657-464-7609, or you can send an email to idoubitit@dollamore.com. You can also support my work on Patreon, patreon.com/idoubtitpodcast. And of course, you can do the like, subscribe, comment, put those things in the comments below. And be sure to check out the description where I always put links to the sources that I use in my videos so that when you encounter comments from people online, you can challenge that misinformation yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.